Galatians chapter 5, this is one of those times, like so many times, I have no idea what I'm fixing to say. But the Lord laid this thought on my heart this week that I couldn't get away from. And I've got one simple verse, not simple verse, but one profound verse. In Galatians chapter 5, the Bible says in verse 1, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage." We're celebrating American Independence Day, the 4th of July. And you stop and think about what that means. To some people it means nothing more than an extended weekend, time off, time to go to the lake, time to grill a hot dog, cook a hamburger. For some people it means absolutely nothing. For a lot of people it's just another day on the calendar. But for Americans, it means a great deal. True Americans. It represents our freedom. It is the day we became free, a free society. 1776, they declared independence. They declared independence to rule their own government. They declared independence to set their own laws. To be the people that God intended them to be. Sadly, 200-something years later, we have drifted a long way from the ideals that our forefathers set down. We've come a long way in the wrong direction. We're no longer the greatest nation as far as education, as far as health care, as far as a lot of the standards in which the world goes by. America is no longer the greatest. We used to set the standards for every aspect of human life. We used to set the bar. The world respected us, if nothing else, because of the society in which we live. Our military, our strength, our presidents had character. Our presidents were, all of them up until the last few years, were military men who have served this country and had the respect of the people and to a large part. We have fallen from that to now our presidents are the laughing stock of the world. We've fallen to the point where we've made a mockery out of God's Word. We've made a mockery out of human life. We've made a mockery out of a lot of the things that we used to hold dear. But Christ makes the statement in verse 5, or verse 1 of chapter 5 in the book of Galatians, when he says, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free." He makes that statement to the Galatian church there to stand fast. If America needs anything today, if America needs anything, we need to realize the cost of freedom. Just like I said, we celebrate our independence, and the world recognizes that as a free society. But in a large degree, we're no longer a free society. We're no longer to do the things that God wants us to do and how God wants us to do them a lot of times. We're no longer free to a large degree because we failed to stand. It started years ago, but just one thing after another, we have given over our freedom to others. We've given over the right to protect ourselves in a large degree to the police, the sheriff's department, the military. We've given over our right to earn a living to the government. We've given over our right to our freedom to be who we want to be in a large degree to be kept up as a society. We'd rather somebody else be responsible for our financial well-being. We'd rather somebody else be responsible for our security. We'd rather somebody else have to deal with the problems that we face, and we'd rather just sit back and take a free ride. And in doing so, we put ourselves back in bondage. The same thing, the same principles of our freedom as a society reflect our spiritual side also. Christ is talking spiritual here. And the same principles or same concepts that govern our earthly society also govern our spiritual relationship with Christ. There's a lot of misconceptions, I think, about freedom and that we hold and that hinder us. Why are we free? Let me ask that question. Why are we free? Anybody? Are we free because we're Americans?
We're free.
We even sing the song, Land of the Free. And a lot of people have the conception that we're free because we are Americans. Because we're Americans has nothing to do with our freedom. Do it? We fought for our freedom. And me being American has nothing to do with my freedom. Matter of fact, I've never fought for my freedom. But there were some men and women before me, and there are some men and women that's currently defending my right to have my freedom.
Amen.
I didn't earn freedom. Spiritually, you didn't earn freedom. In this society in which we live, in which we enjoy so much, I didn't earn 1 ounce of freedom. The men that's in the military, the women that's in the military, David went off and joined the United States Navy. For the last 30-something years, or almost 30 years, he's been defending our freedom. I've never been to Bahrain. I've never been to Kuwait. I've never been to Afghanistan. I've never been on an aircraft carrier. But he's carried that burden for us. Ron, for 25 years? 24 years. United States Marine. On the front line, defending our freedom. I've never walked in his shoes. I don't have the right to say that I've earned my freedom. He does. While I was enjoying the benefits of freedom, these two men were over there paying the price. Separated from their families, separated from their children. I can't begin to boast and say, I'm free because I'm an American. And being American has nothing to do with it. The fact that I'm free comes from some Americans who have paid the ultimate price and shed in their blood. Some Americans who paid the ultimate price in going, whether it be the United States Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, whatever branch, the Sheriff's Department, whatever branch that people decide to go into, these people are the ones that defend our freedom and give us the right to be free. The same way spiritually. We think we're free because we're Christians. Why do we have liberty? Why do we have freedom as a Christian? It's nothing I do. It's nothing you've done. I'm not free from the sin of guilt because I'm a preacher. I'm not free from the sin of guilt and the burden that bears down on me because of what I do. The fact that I read my Bible has no bearing on my religious freedom. The fact that I preach the gospel has no bearing on my religious freedom. The fact that I attend church regularly, no effect on my religious freedom. What does affect my religious freedom is that one day, over 2,000 years ago, a man called Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, stood up for my rights as a Christian. And he stood up when in all the sin debt of all the world, it was called into question. Somebody was willing to step up to the plate and say, I'll pay the price. We would not enjoy what we have today if men like Ron and David and Jennifer and Jennifer, I don't know how many years she pulled, 4 years in the Marine. My hat's off to these people. My respect goes to those. Whether it's 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 30 years, it makes no difference. Whether it's United States Marines or Navy or on a local level, the Sheriff Department or Police Department, EMS, makes no difference. It's people stepping up to the plate to give us the right to enjoy the life that we live. 2,000 years ago, Christ stepped up to the plate and He said, you've got a sin debt that you can't pay. So I'll pay it for you. That's what purchased our religious liberty. That's what purchased our right to be free. It's not because we dress fancy and put on fancy shoes. It ain't because we act the part of a Christian that makes us free. It's the fact that someone was willing to take my place. Someone was willing to go to the cross of Calvary and say, I'll step up to the plate. That's what gives us our freedom. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not to be taken for granted. It's not deserved. There's nothing we deserve we don't deserve any more than any other country in the world to be free. You realize that? We don't deserve, as Americans, we don't deserve any more than any other country. We're not favored because we're Americans. In a large part, we're favored because someone in the past had something within inside them that cried freedom. And when everybody else would cower in the corner, some people stepped forward and said, that's enough. 1776, we stepped away from the only country that was known. And we said, that's enough. And an untrained, unprepared society stood up against the greatest power in all the world and won our liberty.
Amen.
Ever since then, men have been stepping up, stepping out. I heard somebody say a while back, we were talking about it at work, somebody said, well, a lot of people just going for education. I'm going to tell you something. It don't matter why a person joins. The fact that they join is enough to earn respect. Whether they go for the education, whether they go for a grander scheme, whether they go just to get away from mom and dad, makes no difference. My buddy Gene told me one day, and Gene, if you ever hear this, it's talking about you. Gene told me one day, I got tired of people telling me what to do, so when I was 18 years old, I joined the United States Marine Corps. He said he went and told his dad, he said, I'm tired of being yelled at, tired of being fussed at. I went and joined the United States Marine. This is back in the Vietnam days. His dad looked at him, laughed, patted him on the back, and he said, son, you tell me how that works out for you in a few months. He said, for the next 3 years, he said, there wasn't a minute of any day that I wasn't yelled at, fussed at, or told what to do. But for whatever reason, people have stood up and said, we're not going to take it. We're not going to yield to a society, a government, a concept, and we're going to defend our right to be free. If we would do that for our society, why wouldn't we do that for a Savior? Why wouldn't we do the same thing for a Savior? 24 years. Almost 30 years. If the average Christian would act and conduct himself like the worst military man. You listen to what I'm saying? If the average Christian would devote himself to Christ like the sorriest serviceman, we could turn this world around. Because even the sorriest serviceman is at his post most of the time. And even the sorriest serviceman, when confronted, he'll fight. Amen? If he ain't, he's shot on the way back. But even the sorriest serviceman will go above and beyond any unlisted man. And if we would act like that for our country, why won't we act like that for our Creator?
Amen.
If you took the average Christian and he said, I'm going to devote the next 30 years of my life to spreading the gospel. I'm going to devote the next 24 years of my life, day in, day out, to Christ. I'm going to be a Christian no matter what the weather. I'm going to be a Christian no matter what I feel like. I'm going to be a Christian no matter who hollers at me. I'm going to be a Christian no matter where God sends me. Whether it's around the world or whether it's next door. I'm going to be a Christian. Can you imagine what we would do for the cause of Christ? Ron, did the Marines ever tell you to go somewhere and you said, no, I don't believe so?
Tried that a long time ago.
That didn't work for you. David, in all the years when you got married to Candy, did you tell whoever was in charge of you, hey bud, I just got married, I don't believe I'm going to get on that boat? You know, thank you. I appreciate the rank, and I appreciate the paycheck, and I appreciate you doing everything, but I just don't want to get on that aircraft carrier for 9 months. Look, I just got married, and it'd be a good thing to be at home. What'd you tell them? When they told you to get on that boat? Bye. I see you in 9 months. When they told you to go over to the desert in Bahrain, did you tell them, no, they got sand fleas over there, big as cats. I don't want to go over there. No. You packed your bags and went. When they told you, you got to stay a little extra. You may have complained, but you didn't complain too high up the list. If these men would sacrifice so much for our right to be Americans and to be free, can you imagine if we as church members, as we as Christians, as children of God, would say, hey, wherever God wants me to go, I'm going to go. Makes no difference at the cost. When you was on the front lines over there, you didn't count the cost. For the last 30 years, you've never counted the cost. Never. You just went where you had to go and do a job that you had to do. For whatever mentality was behind it, you still do what you had to do when you had to do it and where you had to do it at. What about us? God say, I want you to be a missionary. Well, no, I just don't want to go over there. Let's back it up. God say, I want you to share the gospel. I want you to share it. We take it as sharing the gospel. It ain't sharing the gospel. It's sharing His Son.
That's right.
I want you to share me with the world. Nah, them people going to think I'm funny. Them people might think I'm weird. then people won't agree with what so-and-so may get mad at me. God simply asked us to share His Son with the lost and dying world. And we'll say, "No, not today." You know what happens when we do that? We lose our freedom. This nation is in the condition that it's in and fallen into the cesspool that it is now because we as American citizens have not stood up for our rights. Simple. When the government wanted to do this, we yielded and said, "Okay, that'd be good for a lot of situations. Yeah, I'll relinquish my rights to a degree." And then when they wanted to do this, they come in and they say this, and we need to do this for a better society. Everybody knows it's wrong. Nobody agrees with it. But we vote on them anyway. And we let them stay in office, and we let them do their business, and we let them do their things, simply because we don't want to stand up and fight. You know why I carry a gun? Because these men give me the right to. The United States government don't give me a right to carry a gun. The Second Amendment gives me a right to carry a gun. Now, I have a law-abiding gun permit, but I was carrying a gun long before I had it. And if I lose it, I'll be carrying a gun long after I lose it. The Second Amendment gives me that right, and I'm not going to lose it.
Amen.
I'm not going to forsake that right just because it's not allowed. And the Second Amendment is just part of it. Praying in schools. You know, there's not one law that says I can't pray in school. How many of you have heard, "Well, you can't pray in school anymore, we kick God out"? That's a lie.
That's right.
Tyler, Abby, well, never mind, Abby's out. Tyler, you about the only one that's got it, buddy. Yeah, Ray's still in school. Yeah, she went twice last year. You know what I mean? The law says you can't pray in school. They ain't one of them. They cannot stop you from carrying your Bible. They can't stop you from praying. They can't stop you from having religious services. Can't do it. But we yield our rights to them, and we become in bondage to them. The only reason God isn't in school, it ain't because somebody in Washington wrote it on a piece of paper. The only reason God's not in school anymore is because the Christian kids quit taking them.
That's right.
That's why. The only reason this society is in the condition that it's in is because we as God-fearing Americans have let it become that way. We can blame the presidents, we can blame the governments, we can blame everything under the sun, but the fact is the fault lies in our hand. We have the right to come to church. You know, there's countries and there's nations around this world. I got missionary buddies this morning in other countries who are having to secretly meet in basements and secretly meet as not as churches but as educational groups and helps ministries. I got buddies around the world that would be shot if they had an open service like this. I met the widow of a man in Mexico. They told him for months that they were going to kill him if he got in the pulpit. You know what he did? He got in the pulpit anyway. Week after week after week. They told him, "You're a dead man." Week after week after week, he got in the pulpit. You know what happened? One day, a bullet came through one window, through here, out this side, and out that window. He dropped dead in the pulpit. They shot him for no other reason than preaching the gospel. Killed him right there in the pulpit. You know what happened? The next week, somebody else was standing in this spot. His wife was on the front row, and the church continued. You know what that showed the world? Showed his world? He stood for freedom.
Amen.
We don't come to church when our big toe hurts. You know what happens? We're giving somebody else our freedom. We're not free because of us. We're free for the men and women that went before us and are doing it now. We're not free spiritually because of what we do. We're free because Christ went before us. God forbid that we should let those freedoms cease. Travis, God gave you a beautiful wife and a beautiful baby girl. You know why it's so important for you to stand? Them. You hold that daughter more precious than anything in this world. You know why she needs a mama to stand for the truth? Because if you let it die, if you let what God's given you and the liberty and the freedom that you have, if you let that die, she's the one that pays the price. What does God give us? He gives us freedom from sin. I'm free from sin. I don't have to worry about sin. That's a bold statement. I don't. You know why I don't? Because my sin's paid for.
Amen.
My sin's paid for. My past, my present, and, by the way, my future sin is paid for. If it ain't paid for in the future, then Christ would have to die a second time on the cross. Amen? So my sin's paid for. Now what I do with that is up to me. I can accept it and I can stand in that liberty. I can stand in that freedom. Or I can reject it. You don't have to enjoy freedom. We can put ourselves under bondage. I can put myself under the bondage of the law. I can put myself under the bondage of having to be the perfect Christian. But you know what I do? When I do that, I become bound by that. If we want to enjoy religious freedom, you must realize that Christ's blood set us free. Set us free from sin. But it also sets you free to be yourself. You know what happens with all the cookie cutter Christians? They lock themselves in bondage. David, if I change who God made me to be like who God made you, you know what happens to me? I lose my freedom. I'm putting myself under bondage. Travis, if you change who you are to be somebody else, you lock yourself up. Same thing as putting on handcuffs, standing behind bars. What Christ did is He made every one of us individuals. And He made it for specific purposes. Whatever God's purpose is for you. I saw those pictures, or them vases and all vases and all them things you've been painting. That's individuality. That's who you are. Be who you are. Travis, you got the bike, the tattoo, the t-shirt to prove it. Don't it feel good to be free? That is a blessing. That's Him. That's who He is. As a Christian, he ought to be free to be who he is. To be who God made him to be. Because you know what? There's somebody else out there that only He'll reach. So I'm 24 years in the military. God's given you a niche that only you can reach. You can go talk to somebody, share the gospel with somebody that only you can understand and only you walked in their shoes. I can't do it. I've never been there. But God will give you the opportunity and put people in front of you that you can reach. David, God's given you an outrageous personality and a beautiful voice. Only you can do it. Greg, God's given you a heart for your job and what you do that only you can do. But if what happens, if you try to act like David, it'll blow apart. If David tries to act like Ron, it won't work. If Steve tries to act like Wade, it ain't going to happen. And one danger of our society is everybody wants to be like somebody else. We buy tennis shoes because some basketball player wears it. We drive a certain car because our country music fan or singer drives one. We listen, we want this kind of house because our neighbor's got one. And the same thing in churches. We want to act like so-and-so because so-and-so said he's walking with God closer than so-and-so. And we want to do this because they look this way, or they do that. You know what we're doing? We're locking ourselves up. We're failing to be who we are. And when we fail to be who God wants you to be, we'll never fulfill His purpose. God's got a purpose for y'all, just the way you are. Everybody has a reason for being. And the moment we choose to act or be somebody else, we lose that freedom.
Amen.
Freedom to be ourselves. I want to thank this church. There ain't another church in the world that will put up with me. I'm honest. I say that honestly. Miss Linda, thank you for not running me off. Thank you. Miss Carolyn, Miss Sybil, thank you all. Thank you for not running me off. I appreciate that. They ain't nobody else in this world would put up with me except these ladies right here. And they've done it graciously and lovingly. They may have wanted to hit me over the head with a brick, but they ain't never told me out loud. Your mama kind of indicated one time. But they have endured a lot. But you know the greatest gift they've ever given me as church members? They let me be me.
Amen.
And that is a blessing. That is a tremendous blessing. And thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be me. Putting up with it and everything. The greatest gift you'll ever give God is yourself. And too many times we try to change that to become somebody else. And we lose our identity. God made you because He needed you. And when you realize that, you set yourself free. You become who God wants you to be. The last reason God gave us our freedom is God gave us our freedom not only to take care of our sin problem, not only to be ourselves, but God gave us our freedom to serve, to share Him with the world. Travis, God didn't make you the way you are just for you to ride down the road on that Harley. God gave you a ministry. God gave you a purpose. He didn't design you and mold you and put that together, put this family together. He didn't do that just to pat you on the back and say, okay. He did that for y'all can serve. That's the reason. He didn't give you a beautiful voice to stay silent. He didn't give you an outstanding personality to sit at the house. Greg, He didn't give you a passion for what you do so you wouldn't do it. Friday night, first thing you're concerned with was the 21-year-old man. Above self, above anything else. Your prayer request was for a 21-year-old man. That shows your heart. Rod and Jennifer was going on vacation. Had the room booked. they found out a brother that had trouble. Without hesitation, without remorse, cancel that plan, click, we're going home. Why did they do that? Why? So they can serve somebody in need. Melissa, you and Steve, if there's anything going on, y'all are the first one on board. That's a gift. God gives us what we need. Not so we can hoard it up. Not so we can enjoy it ourselves. But it gives us our freedom so that we can serve. You serve Christ by being yourself and sharing yourself with others. Simple as that. Christians will lose our freedom, not because of the government, not because of the White House, not because of who gets elected. We're in the condition we're in because Christians have quit serving. And we will cease to be as a godly nation, not because of the White House, but because of the church houses failed.
Right.
That's where we'll lose the battle for America. Our president stood up and said, we are no longer a godly nation. You know why he said that? Because we failed in doing our job.
That's right.
He didn't fail, he's a result of us failing. He's a result. He's a mirror image of the church house in the condition of the church in America. You want to look at the church? Look at the president, look at the Congress, look at the condition of America, and you will see a reflection of the church house. We've lost our freedoms because we let them go. We let them go because we were more interested in self than in sharing Jesus Christ with a lost and dying world. We may not live long enough to see the details. But what about our children? The reason those men and women stand on the front line and give their life for their nation, not necessarily for them, but for their children
Amen.
and their grandchildren. We better open our eyes and take back our freedom that God so lovingly gave us. It's time for an uprising in America. And I'm not talking about a political uprising. I'm talking about a spiritual uprising. When Christians sign on the dotted line and say, I'll do whatever. I'll go wherever. And I'll be whatever you want me to be. If we do that, we turn this world around. Unquestionably. Amen. Well, Jim,